Last Tuesday morning, I was standing in the queue at the post office. Ordinary Tuesday. I had a letter to send, nothing remarkable about that. The queue wasn't moving, so I shifted my weight onto my left foot and stood there, quite comfortably, balanced on one leg, the way I sometimes do when I'm waiting. The woman in front of me, I'd say she was 55, maybe 60, turned around and stared. Not rudely, more the way you stare at something that doesn't quite make sense. She said, "How are you doing that?" I said, "Doing what?" She pointed at my foot. Standing like that, on one leg, just standing. I told her I was just waiting. I didn't think anything of it. She told me she hadn't been able to do that in years. She said she'd tried it once at the doctor's, some kind of routine check, and she'd grabbed the wall within 4 seconds. She was 57 years old. I am 87. I've been thinking about that conversation ever since, not because it made me feel smug. It didn't. It made me feel something closer to sadness, because the truth is, what she'd lost wasn't just balance. Balance is the word doctors use. What she'd actually lost was quiet confidence, the ability to stand in a queue and not think about falling, the ability to exist in her own body without negotiating with it constantly. That is what today is about. I'm going to share 5 specific physical abilities with you. Not exercises, not routines. Abilities, things your body should still be able to do right now in the middle of your ordinary life. Each one is backed by research. Each one is a quiet signal about what's happening inside you, your heart, your brain, your nervous system, your years ahead. And for each one, I'm going to ask you to stop and try it yourself. Right now, not tomorrow, not when you've had your tea. Now. Because here is the thing nobody tells you clearly enough. Losing these abilities is not a life sentence. Every single one of them can be rebuilt. The body, even at 80, even at 85, responds. It adapts. It comes back. But only if you start today. Not next week. Today. My name is Arthur. I am 87 years old. I live alone, I manage my own affairs, and last month my GP told me my inflammation markers are lower than most of his 45-year-old patients. I am not a miracle. I am not special genetics. I am a man who paid attention. Let me show you what I was paying attention to. Research published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that adults over 50 who cannot stand on one leg for 10 seconds have nearly double the risk of death within 7 years. I want you to do something for me right now. Put down whatever you're holding. Stand up if you're able. Lift one foot off the floor, just a few inches, and stand there. How long can you hold it? 10 seconds is the number. If you can hold it for 10 seconds, eyes open, without grabbing anything, without wobbling dramatically, that is significant. That matters more than you know. Pause the video now. Try it. I'll wait.
How did you do?
My neighbor Raymond is 74. Retired engineer, sharp mind, a man who built his own conservatory with his own hands not 15 years ago. Last winter, I watched him try to put on a Wellington boot in his front doorway. He grabbed the doorframe within 2 seconds. He laughed it off, said his knee was giving him trouble. I didn't argue. But I remembered what my GP had told me the year before. That single-leg balance is one of the most reliable physical predictors of longevity available to a GP without any equipment whatsoever. Not because standing on one leg is important in itself, but because the ability to do it requires your brain, your inner ear, your muscles, and your nervous system to all be communicating cleanly, in real time, without hesitation. When that communication starts to break down, quietly, gradually, so slowly you don't notice, the first thing to go is balance. Then comes the fall. And I have watched too many good men and women, people with full minds and full lives, have their independence stripped away by a single fall that a better balanced body would have caught. If you held it for 10 seconds, well done. Keep practicing, make it longer, try it with your eyes closed. If you didn't, that is not a judgment, that is information. Start today. Stand on one leg while you brush your teeth, both sides every morning. Within 6 weeks, most people see real, measurable improvement. The nervous system responds faster than you think. A Brazilian study of over 2,000 adults found that those who needed both hands and knees to rise from the floor had 5 times the mortality risk over 6 years compared to those who could do it without support. I get down on the floor every morning, not for exercise. My cat, Biscuit, she's 12, nearly as old as me in cat years. She sleeps in that patch of morning sun that comes through the kitchen window. I get down to stroke her, and then I stand back up. One movement, no hands, no knees first. I'm going to ask you to try this. If you have any serious knee or hip concerns, please be sensible about it. But if you're able, get on the floor. Sit cross-legged or however is comfortable, then stand back up. Count how many points of support you need. Each hand you use is 1 point. Each knee is 1 point. Pause the video. Try it. A score of 0 to 1, you are in excellent shape for this measure. A score of 3 or 4 means you need to pay attention. This isn't about vanity, it's about what that movement reveals. Your leg strength, your hip flexibility, your core stability, your body's ability to coordinate all of those systems at once under load. Gerald, I've mentioned him before in other conversations, so forgive me if you've heard this. Gerald stopped getting on the floor in his late 60s. He said it wasn't worth the bother. Getting back up had become uncomfortable, then difficult, then something he simply avoided. So he stopped. Then he stopped getting out of his armchair without pushing off the armrests. Then he needed help getting out of the bath. Then he was in a nursing home, being helped out of bed each morning by someone else at 79 years old. Gerald was not a frail man by nature. Gerald was a man who gradually, quietly accepted each small retreat. Each, it's not worth the bother, until the retreats had surrounded him completely. If you struggled today, begin tomorrow. Sit on the floor for 5 minutes while you read or watch something. Practice getting up. Let your body remember what it's capable of. It hasn't forgotten. It just needs to be reminded. A landmark study across 17 countries found grip strength to be a stronger predictor of cardiovascular mortality than blood pressure, with every reduction in grip strength linked to an increase in cardiovascular death. I still open my own jam jars. I mention this not to boast, it's a jam jar, but because I've noticed that 3 men on my street keep a rubber grip pad next to the kettle. You know the ones? Little circular rubber disc. You put it on a lid to help you turn it. I understand why they have them. I'm not cruel about it. But I think about what that grip pad represents. It represents a negotiation, a small daily concession to a body that has quietly been losing something, so gradually the loss was never noticed, until one morning the jar simply wouldn't move. Right now, pick something up near you, squeeze it. Squeeze it as hard as you can. Feel how much force you can generate. If you have a blood pressure monitor with a squeeze bulb, even better. Notice whether your grip feels strong and confident, or whether there's a shakiness to it, a weakness that surprises you. The reason grip strength predicts cardiovascular mortality, and this surprised me when I first understood it, is that it is a proxy measure for your overall musculoskeletal health. Your heart and your muscles develop together, degrade together, respond together. A weakening grip is not just a weakening hand. It is a signal from your entire system. My wife Dorothy, in her final years, couldn't open her own medication bottles. She had a special dispenser. We kept it on the kitchen windowsill. Every morning I would watch her try the lid first, just in case, and then reach for the dispenser when it didn't move. It was a small thing. Nobody would have called it a tragedy. But I watched what it did to her. That small helplessness, repeated every single morning, and I understood that dignity is built from exactly these moments. From being able to do the ordinary things without asking for help. Squeeze a tennis ball. Hang from a bar if you're able. Carry your shopping by hand rather than using a trolley all the way to the car. The grip is trainable at any age. Give it something to push against and it will respond. Walking speed across a short distance, as little as 4 meters, is one of the most validated predictors of hospitalization, cognitive decline, and mortality in older adults. Geriatricians now treat it as a vital sign. I walk to the post office every Tuesday. It's a 12-minute walk. I know this because I've timed it, not obsessively, but with the precision of a man who values knowing things accurately. 12 minutes. It has been 12 minutes for the last several years. Here is a simple test. Find a hallway or open space in your home, about 4 meters, roughly 13 feet. Walk it at your normal pace. Not performing, not trying to be fast. Just walk the way you walk when you think nobody is watching. Notice it. Notice whether it feels effortful. Notice whether you slow down before a doorway. Notice whether you feel entirely certain of your footing, or whether there's a small background caution operating, a slight hesitation that wasn't there 10 years ago. Pause the video and walk. Pay attention. My friend Colin began taking the bus to the post office. We live on the same road. It is a 10-minute walk at most. He told me his knees weren't up to it. I said nothing because it wasn't my place to say anything. 3 months later, Colin was diagnosed with early-stage vascular dementia. I don't draw a straight line between those two things. I am not a doctor, but the research is clear on this. Walking speed and cognitive health are deeply entangled. The brain systems that coordinate movement, the timing, the balance, the fluid response to uneven ground, are the same systems involved in memory, attention, and executive function. When they begin to slow in your body, they are often slowing in your mind at the same time. Walking is not just transport. It is the brain exercising itself. Every time you choose the bus when you could walk, every time you drive around a car park looking for the closest space, you are making a withdrawal from an account that doesn't send you a statement until it's nearly empty. Walk. Walk every day. Walk at a pace that feels slightly purposeful. Walk on uneven ground sometimes, the pavement, the park, the grass, because the slight instability is precisely the point. Let your nervous system stay practiced at the real world. The ability to perform a cognitive task, holding a conversation, counting backwards, while walking without slowing down, is a powerful early marker for cognitive decline and fall risk. Adults who slow significantly when distracted are at substantially higher risk for dementia and falls within 5 years. This one is subtle. You might not notice it in yourself, but once I explain it, I suspect you'll start noticing it in others almost immediately. A healthy brain can walk and think at the same time. It does not need to allocate all available attention to the act of moving through space. Walking, for a well-functioning nervous system, is essentially automatic, like breathing. Thought continues alongside it without interruption. When that changes, when walking begins to require concentration, the body starts issuing a very quiet warning. I want you to try something. Walk across the room, and while you're walking, count backwards from 100 in sevens. 100, 93, 86. Just keep walking and keep counting at the same time. Pause the video and try it now. Did your pace slow? Did you stop walking to think? Did the counting become impossible while your feet were moving? Any of those are signals worth taking seriously. I noticed it first at the weekly pub quiz. My teammate Frank, 77, a retired headmaster, one of the sharpest men I've known, would go completely silent every time he stood up to walk to the bar. We'd be mid-conversation and he'd simply stop talking. Mouth closed, eyes focused, complete silence until he'd navigated himself to the bar and back. Then he'd pick up the sentence exactly where he left it, as if no interruption had occurred. Frank didn't know he was doing it. When I mentioned it gently, many months later, after everything that had happened, he had no recollection of it at all. To him, those silences had simply never happened. But I'd been watching. I began noticing it everywhere. People who pause their sentence when stepping off a curb, who stop talking to navigate a revolving door, whose eyes go glassy and inward when they're crossing a room. The walking was consuming bandwidth that should have been available for everything else. 6 months after I first noticed it in Frank, his daughter rang me. Frank had fallen badly on the stairs. He'd been distracted by the television at the bottom. Train this. Walk and talk deliberately. Walk and count. Walk and recall. Name every counter you can think of, or every prime minister, while you keep moving at your normal pace. Don't let your brain off the hook. Keep both demands running simultaneously. It is uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is exactly the point. 5 abilities, each one measuring something different. Your balance measures your nervous system. Your ability to rise from the floor measures your musculoskeletal integrity. Your grip measures your cardiovascular system. Your walking pace measures your brain's efficiency. Your ability to think while you walk measures the coordination of everything together. None of these are exotic. None of them require a clinic or a machine or an expert. They are built into your ordinary life, available to you right now, in your sitting room and your hallway and your garden path. And here is what I want you to take away from this, and I want you to hear it clearly because I think it matters. These abilities can be rebuilt, all of them. The research is unambiguous on this. The body, even in its 80s, even in its mid-80s, responds to demand. It does not give you everything back overnight, but it gives back more than most people expect, and faster if you begin. Not if you plan to begin. If you begin. Gerald planned. He said often that he'd get back to things when his knee improved, when the weather changed, when he felt a bit more himself. He was 79 in a nursing home, unable to dress himself. He was not a weak man. He was a man who kept beginning tomorrow. I am 87. I stand on one leg while I wait in queues. I get down on the kitchen floor to stroke my cat. I open my own jam jars. I walk to the post office every Tuesday. I can hold a conversation while I'm moving without going silent and retreating into my own skull to manage my feet. I am not telling you this to impress you. I'm telling you because I want you to understand that these things are available to you. Not someday. Not if you'd started younger. Now. Start with one. Just one. Tonight, stand on one leg while you brush your teeth. Tomorrow, sit on the floor for 5 minutes. The day after, walk to somewhere you'd normally drive. Let the body remember that you expect something from it. It will remember. It always does. My name is Arthur. I'm 87 years old, and I have no intention of going quietly. If this was useful to you, share it with someone who needs it more than they think they do. And if you have questions, leave them below. I read them myself.